Have you ever felt that you've really understood something? That you've really grasped it? Just to realize that all you've really done is fill your head with a bunch of words. If this hasn't happened to you yet, and you are going through a spiritual awakening, this is something that is down the line for you. Because a big part of our spiritual awakening is to realize that we are not the word machine in our head, and that we need to break free from it. Hello from Sweden, and welcome to Everyday Mystic, a gentle guide to your liberation. My name is David, and I hope that you're feeling well and that you're having a good day. Now, you know the old saying, a picture is worth more than 1,000 words. And that goes for even a boring one such as this one. You can ask, who drew the picture? In this case it's me. And why did I draw the picture? To make a point. And so on and so forth. Who made the pen? Who made the paper? And there is all this web of interconnectedness. And there is a reason why I'm saying this. Because there is something fundamental about the human experience that I want you to grasp in this video. Namely, how deep this word programming really goes. We give something a label and we think we understood it, and then we can either accept or reject it. We describe something using words, and then we think that we somehow have accessed reality. All of this is complete nonsense. Language is truly amazing. I find language incredibly interesting because there is something so interesting about communication in general. But I think that most people, almost all people, underestimate the limitations of language. And behind all this mishmash of words and experiences and movement and all that, is a fundamental oneness, is God's infinite awareness at the absolute fundamental core of everything. We are one with God and we are one with each other. I cannot explain this rationally. I cannot make you believe this. You have to go inside to find this out for yourself. You can argue as much as you want with it, that doesn't matter. I know this to be true today, and you can either accept or reject it. And then we have all of these filters that we lay on top of this oneness. I can say with absolute certainty that the world that you see around you is not what it appears to be. And we cannot really apply our logical minds if we want to understand the world and how to relate to it. On the one hand, language is so far away from reality. And on the other hand, we need language in order to understand and conceptualize things, in order to talk to each other about the specifics of our shared experience. But there is also another part of this, of course, that I cannot know for sure that my experience is anything like anyone else's experience. Because this is also a huge part of the human condition. I have only access to my own experience. I can assume that there is some sort of correspondence between my experience and the reality that I think that I'm perceiving anyway. But I cannot know anything about this for sure. These are some of the things with our shared experience that we have to deal with. Language seems to point to a reality, but I can say something completely different from what you're saying by using the same word as you are doing. It depends a lot, for example, how much I have consciously reflected upon the reality that the word attempts to describe. I, as many of you know, have an affinity for Jesus, have an affinity for Christianity. It's just that I don't think Christianity is what most people think that it is. So, let's look at the death and resurrection of Jesus. Many Christians say that you have to believe in this in order to be saved, and otherwise you are going to hell for all eternity and you will suffer for all eternity. But this comes with so many assumptions, and really what you have just done is use a specific line of words. I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. You have not at all unpacked what this means, because it can mean very many different things to different people. And if you want to take it literally, you also have to believe that about 6,000 years, I know that there is some debate about this, but approximately something like that, the first two humans were tricked into eating a fruit by a talking snake, and then all of history unfolded, and then we had Jesus that had to die on the cross for humanity's sins and so on, that followed from this. How can I know anything of this? Do I say yes to all of these steps by saying yes to this fundamental assumption? What do I mean by this fundamental assumption anyway? There is a whole interconnectedness of things with, like, the political church that has had the monopoly on how to interpret and understand these texts throughout the ages, and we have a whole idea tradition building from this. Now, why is this important? Because how can you really, have you thought of all these factors when you use a specific label to describe the human experience, to describe what you believe to be true about the human experience? I am trying to make a point about how language tricks us into believing that this language is reality. There is a web of interconnectedness when it comes to everything, every little statement that you make about reality. But until you actually reflect consciously about this reality that this statement refers to, and all of the interconnectedness related to it, you have just really made a bunch of noises. But your mind is tricking you into believe that this is actually real, that the words inside of your head are saying something meaningful about the reality around you. But maybe they do and maybe they don't. It all depends on how much reflection and how much consciousness you have in relation to this. And this is also why I don't like these ideas about, oh, everything, you have to look at this in this way and then this has to mean this. Politics is a very good example. People try to predict the future, they try to understand the past and so on. While we know that our memory distorts the past, that there are a lot of factors that come into this with personal biases and so on when it comes to remembering and understanding the past, and it is very difficult to predict the future in an increasingly complex world, and we don't know what is going on inside of other people either. So therefore we cannot really predict their actions, neither when it comes to individuals or groups. And this is why I find this totally uninteresting, really. Because what we can really do is focus on ourselves, our connection with God, and our connection with other people. We can make this primacy instead. This is something that we haven't tried yet. We have tried to enforce all of these solutions out in the physical reality, treating other people with suspicion and so on and so forth, and we see the situation that we have out in the world today. But what we really have control over, what we can actually find experiential knowledge of, is our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with God and with other people. And I can witness to this, that I have had many encounters on the inside with this transcendent reality of God. And this has a very specific meaning. I cannot convince you of anything. You have to go inside in meditation for yourself and see if this is true or not. But I'm telling you, this is the only way forward. The way forward is not to push our particular agenda, our particular solutions out into the world, a world that we cannot really know anything about, and in which we can definitely not foresee the consequences of what is happening right now. We can instead focus on this shift on the inside, and let me tell you, this shift on the inside is incredibly profound. It's so radical that I don't think anyone can really fathom what it means. But this is in no uncertain terms leading us away from being focused out in the material reality and to focus instead of what is going on the inside. And when you start to actually uncover these structures, how words fool us, how our minds fool us, how our egos fool us. And this, by the way, is very important. If you follow a spiritual practice, it should help you understand the ego, what the ego does, and why you need to transcend it. This is important if you want to really understand and have a more clear picture of reality. And again, don't let this be words. This is the crucial point of this whole video. Words, words, words. Unless you actually integrate what these words mean and apply them to your own experience, they are just going to remain words up in your head. So, I actually want to return a little bit to the example of Jesus, because there is another point that I want to make about this. Namely that I do believe that something very significant happened in the world with the life and death and resurrection of Jesus. I am not completely sure what all of this means, and I'm not even completely sure that what I'm talking about here is accurate. I am believing this because I think the evidence point in this direction. I cannot be sure of this, and I don't believe that my eternal destiny depends on it. But I find more reasons for believing what I've just said than against them. But as I said, I don't know what it means. I don't know exactly what significance this has for me because, for example, I cannot know what the people that actually wrote down these events actually knew about them, how much they could understand, and how much is yet to be revealed to us. Suffice it to say that I don't put my trust in the classical interpretation of these things. To me, it's an open question what this actually means. But I have seen so much in my life that make me know that there is so much more to this world than what we perceive with the eyes. To me, it's not strange if someone, for example, returns from the dead, even though I have not witnessed it yet, because I know that we are not just living in this five-sense reality. So, therefore I try to approach things with as much openness as possible. And it's quite interesting actually when you do take this approach, because you will encounter people that, oh, you haven't heard the truth yet. Well, let me tell you the truth. And some people probably know the truth, but you usually can tell if they have any real knowledge by the level of humility that they display when they speak to you. And this is not, oh, is it this or is it that? If you don't approach another person with humility, you probably don't really know things. You just believe a bunch of stuff. And this is the thing. Beliefs. We need beliefs in one sense. We need beliefs in order to navigate reality when we don't have all of the facts in place. But to me at least, it doesn't seem wise to go beyond that when it comes to beliefs. To actually stake your whole existence on a belief. Not when there actually is knowing to be found. There is spiritual knowing to be found. You don't just have to believe things anymore. You might want to just bet on something because it makes your life easier. It makes your life more, it might make you a more loving person and so on. It might fill some sort of function for you. But don't stake everything on a belief. Don't push your beliefs on other people unless you are absolutely sure. But then there is not a belief anymore, is it? So as I always say, observe yourself. Observe how these mechanisms are going on inside of your head. Observe when you confuse words with reality. Think consciously about how much you actually know when it comes to the statement that you are making about reality. Realize just how complex the world is and how open to distortions the mind really is. Realize and become aware of your own biases, of your own mechanisms, of the specific programming that is going on inside of your head that comes from past experiences that distort how you view the world in the present moment. Understand how the ego operates. Understand all of these little identity builders that the ego has inside of it and how much it does to actually preserve these identities at the cost of actually viewing reality clearly. So therefore, understanding the ego and all of its mechanisms is crucial, and this is something that I am trying to do to the best of my ability on my channel. And now I want to end this video with a quote from Einstein actually. Einstein asked this: "The most important question to ask yourself is, do I live in a friendly universe or not?" And there are actually three answers to this. Either we live in an unfriendly universe and then we cannot know anything for sure and we are at the mercy of powers that want to harm us. Or we live in a neutral universe, everything can just go any way it wants. And really this also implies that there is not a personal loving creator. There is just a creator that creates things for no apparent reason. Or we live in a fundamentally good universe. And I want you to think about what all of these things mean. I know today that we live in a fundamentally good universe. Not believe, this is not beliefs. I know. I don't know exactly what this means. I don't know exactly the ultimate nature of God. But I know that on some level God is personal, but also that we are parts of God's infinite consciousness. So at the absolute fundamental core we are one with God, and it's just that the ego is clouding this divinity. So ask yourself this, because this is what I am staking my life on. This is what I am staking my existence on. If I'm right about this, we can maybe actually take a step back from all of these ego shenanigans, connect to a higher order of things, and again, I'm speaking from experience here, there is such a higher order, when we don't live from resistance anymore, when we are directly connected with God's infinite consciousness, and where our thoughts, words and actions flow from this. But we have a lot of inner resistance to let go of first before we can realize that this is our true nature. We can just allow this loving, friendly energy to flow freely. We don't need to block and resist anything. But as long as we are in this resistant mode, we will continue to be drawn into this reality, into all of these little games that are going on, that try to steal our attention from what is really important, which is the present moment where God lives and where we can actually freely connect with God and other people. And this is what it truly means to walk with God in the Garden of Eden, not like some old man that walks at your side, but with this knowing that you are held and taken care of by a loving Creator, that you may or may not understand eventually, but it doesn't really matter. It's this connection that matters and nothing else. And that's it for today. If you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment and share the video on social media and other places. All of it helps the channel to grow. And if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so YouTube always notifies you of new videos. And check out the description and the comment section for other things that me and my wife are doing. Especially check out my store Trickster Saint for my own creative works. And other than that, just sincerely thank you for your time.